Hi guys, today I'm going to be doing my 5 and 5 using Hedgehog Hollows October card making kit. And I'm going to start off by making a couple of tea towels for decoration. I got the towels at Walmart. They were like a package of 6 for $5, so super cheap. The ribbon I sewed on is also included in the kit, and that's a Doodlebug gingham ribbon. I'm also going to be using the Memento dye ink, which I know is not waterproof. I'm not planning on actually using this as a towel or needing to wash it, but if I do, it didn't cost very much, and this is kind of an experiment. The boo in the middle I had to stamp several times. The little ghosts I only had to stamp twice, probably because it was a solid image. And um, like I said, I know that dye inks are not waterproof, but it does say on the back of that package that it is waterproof, so we'll see. Anyway, now I'm going to kind of decorate it a little bit. Now those Nuvo drops they're glow in the dark sour apple. They came in the kit, as well as the white and the black, which is the simply white and the ebony black. And those are full size bottles, so those also came in the kit. And I'm just going to kind of place them around, kind of decorating my. The boo has these little dots, so I wanted to fill in the dots with the white. And I used the sour apple glow in the dark on her bow. And then I'm going to take the ebony black and I'm going to use it on the eyes. And then I decided to step up the eyes a little bit more, so I just wiped it off before it dried real quick. And I'm just going to use the black. And then once it dries, I'll come back and add the white, little whites, so you can kind of looks like googly eyes there. And that's the completed boo tea towel. The next one I'm going to use actual pigment inks this time. So this one, once you heat set it with your iron, it's supposed to be waterproof. So these are by American Crafts, and I'm using different fall themed colors and the fall stamp set to just kind of decorate the very bottom of the towel. And I'm just going to put that little red leaf on either side to kind of even it out. And that sentiment also came in the stamp set, and there's my completed fall tea towel. Next, I'm going to be making this card, and this is a watercolor papers. These came in the kit. There was a set of 12 of them, and they're watercolor panels. And so I'm just going to take my distress inks and I'm going to do the background, which I'm going to speed this up because you've seen a million backgrounds being done with the distress ink. But I will let you know the colors. I used carved pumpkin, fired brick, wilted violet, fossilized amber, and peeled paint. Those are all the colors that I used to create the background. And I just went over the whole thing because I'm going to be coloring with my Copic markers. And one of the other things I think I did with this one, yeah, I did. I did the water splatter, and then I took some perfect pearls in copper, and I also used regular perfect pearls to give it a little bit of more sparkle, and then I just splattered them all over the paper and then dried my paper completely before using the Copic markers, which you'll see here. This is it finished. To brighten it up a little bit, because the distress inks behind it kind of dull down the colors of your Copics when you're coloring, I did go over it with my Prismacolor pencils just to kind of brighten up and give it a little bit more dimension. And then also took that same sentiment and I used the Recollections Gold Embossing Powder and the Simon Says Clear ink pad to create the embossed sentiment. And I just stuck that on a craft card 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 size card base, and that's the completed card. Next, I'm going to be making a divider, and the divider again with the distressed oxide background. This time I'm only going to use 3 colors to do the background. Well, actually, I'll show you. I'm going to stamp out on watercolor paper a whole bunch of images from the fall stamp set. So I used every image in the fall stamp set on this, minus the other sentiments, since I only used the one sentiment for this. And I'm going to take the clear embossing powder, and I used a black pigment ink to do all of my images. I'm going to heat set that, and I do it just because it makes it easier for me. And this is my little my little planner, and I have all these little, I like doodlebug, so I have a few doodlebug, dividers, but this one I wanted to do fall. So this is them all colored in and ready to go. I used my Zig clean color markers to color them in. And now I'm going to work on the actual panel itself. This is the divider base that goes inside in between my months. And I'm only using fired brick, carved pumpkin, and fossilized amber for this one. Just kind of like you've seen me do a bunch of times. Kind of addicted to this background method right now. Also, if you notice up in the corner, I had already cut out my letters using one of my, I have a couple of different ones, but this one's my favorite where it just cuts out the individual letters. And I forgot that I was doing this for October, so I had already cut out September. And so I have to go back and fix that. I sprinkled it with a little bit of water, used my towel to pick it up, and now I'm going to put together my panel. So I cut out all of my images, had to fussy cut them. This doesn't come with a die cut set, but if you have that scan and cut, you're a very lucky person. But I don't, so I had to fussy cut them all. This is a piece of corrugated paper that I had from my stash, and I just cut a panel out of it. For that is the Lawn Fawn Nitpicky. I used cut a panel from that, a little strip, I should say, not panel, a strip, and I popped it up with some foam tape. There's my sentiment, which again I used, that's on watercolor because I just did everything on the same watercolor paper that I was using to start with, so I didn't waste any extra. And so I heat set that with black. I used the Wow Superfine Black embossing powder over the black pigment ink so that it came out, wanted to make sure it was really, really easy to read. So it's black on black. And then I just placed that in the center, and now I'm going to start adhering all of my little images that I colored. Then my little coffee cup, popping some of them up. Some of them will be flat just to give it a little bit more dimension. And one of my New Year's resolutions this year is going to be to actually use my planner, not just decorate it. Because honestly, that's all I've done is decorate it. And I'm going to use it next year. I'm going to make a whole new one, and I'm actually going to fill it out. So now you'll see my mistake. I started to put in this and then realized I needed to make sure I had my month on there. I wanted to make sure I had room when I put the month and the year, and then I realized it is not September that I'm doing, it's October, so I had to recut, pull those off real quick. And to fix the back, even though you can still kind of see where I had glued it down, I just went over it again with the distressed oxide inks to try to kind of cover up where the glue, and it's not horrible, you can't see it that much. I can see it because I know it's there, but hopefully nobody else really notices it. And now I'm just gonna figure out where I want all of my little elements that I cut out. And I like things in threes. I'm very much a threes kind of person, so I'm only gonna place 3 bunches around. I started to think about 4 and then realized, nope, I don't like it. So 3 bunches it is. I love the way this panel came out. I think it's absolutely adorable. The elements in this month's kit are just phenomenal, unbelievable. So now I just glued them all down, and now all I have to do is cut, go and hole punch out through the corrugated paper so that it will fit into my binder. And there's my completed October 2018 divider using elements from the Hedgehog Hollow kit. For this card, I'm going to do some ink blending, and after the last ink blending video I did, I got a couple of comments underneath reminding me not to put your blending solution in the spray bottle. And so thank you so much, Dee Marie and the Pastel Cat, for looking out for me. Apparently it is very bad to aerolize that stuff, and I am in a well ventilated room, but still shouldn't be spraying the blending solution. So I did get rid of that out of there, and I replaced it with a 99% alcohol. The colors that I used for this panel are, I wrote them down: eggplant, sunshine yellow, cranberry, and sunset orange. And I wanted kind of a darker background because I'm going to do the ink lifting, and I wanted to use the Boo sentiment from the Hedgehog Hollow kit. And I'm going to do this 3 times because I want to make sure I get a lot of that ink off. I want the Boo to really show up. So I did it 3 times. And then I'm just going to take my cloth and keep turning it to lift off any extra ink that's kind of sitting on top of where I used the lift ink pad. And then buff it out so that I can really make that show up. And that's going to do it for the background. Now I'm going to use a stitched rectangle die and cut out my panel so it'll fit onto my A2 size card. And I wanted to make a frame out of black cardstock, so I cut 3 pieces using the stitched rectangle dies, and cut and colored a couple of the ghosts from the kit. That card base got hit with some of my perfect pearls, but since it's going to get covered up, you're not going to see it anyways. So I'm going to adhere my frame, and I want to do a kind of wonky sideways looking frame. And then I'm going to pop up my ghosts, one on either corner. And I just cut them using the Copic paper and colored them with my Copic markers. And now I'm going to do some white eyes this time. So I'll have to wait for this to dry, and using again the Sour Apple glow in the dark Nouveau drops. So once that dries, I will add the eyes, and there it is, the completed card. For the last card on this video, I'm going to make a pocket card because I want to be able to put a candy bar in it like you saw in the picture. So we're going to start with a panel. This is 8.5 by 8.5. You're going to score it down the middle at 4.25, and then you're going to turn it and cut it and score it again at 5.5, face in the other direction. Then using your bone folder, you're going to turn up on your score line and just kind of reinforce those score lines until this is just a 4.25 by 5.5 size panel now. And I'm going to cut off one of the squares at the bottom just to try to make it less bulky. So I guess you could do a double pocket if you wanted to, but it makes it really bulky. So it's already going to be thick enough with the candy bar in it, so I didn't want to continue making it even worse. Now I'm just going to use some score tape on either side. This is not a card that you can put in the mail if you put a candy bar in it. Obviously, this is one that maybe you stick in a lunchbox for a loved one or one of your kids or something. But if you wanted to use it to put like a gift card or something in, you could definitely mail this because it's just a standard A2 size card. Now I'm going to take a piece of craft cardstock, and I'm going to be using the Boo sentiment again, but this time, let me move my thing over so you can see, I'm masking off the areas of the Boo that I don't want to stamp. And that is just using some artist tape, which I'm going to take off. And I had to do this twice in order to get a dark enough image onto the craft paper. So this is my second time stamping, and that was, I thought, dark enough for me. Also on the card, you don't have to do this, but I wanted to cut off the corner. That way you could see what was inside. So if you were going to put like a tag with a gift card or something inside, you'd be able to see it. But it's not necessary. You don't have to cut off the corner if you don't want to. Now I'm going to just decorate the front of my panel. And I'm going to start by putting a piece of that orange came in the kit. And I'm not even sure what, let me see if it says on here who makes that orange paper, because it's actually a really nice color. Now it just says coordinating cardstock on the list here. So I adhered that down, and now I'm going to, I don't pop up any of the panels because I think the card is already thick enough, so I'm just going to use my funky tape runner and adhere the panel right to the orange piece. And I forgot that the whole reason why I left off the bottom of the exclamation point is because I wanted to use one of the brads that came in the kit. This is another doodle bug, and I just used my little poker there to make a hole. And then these are brads, so I just attach it through the back, and the little gem fell off. Not a big deal. I finished attaching it to my paper, and then I took some glossy accents and reattached the gem right back on. Yeah. it was no big. Then I'm gonna, instead of the O's in the middle, I'm using the ghosts that I colored with my Copic markers and fussy cut out, and they will be the O's in the middle of the boo. I think this came out so cute. The only thing I think I would have added to it, which I might still go back and do, is on the bee, there are some stitch marks in the bee, and I think I should have gone over those with a white gel pen, just so that they would have stood out better. But I'm also going to take my little eyes that I made earlier, and I'm just going to glue them straight on. I made these eyes for the Pac-Man card, and I had made a whole bunch of them, so I'm just going to stick on the ones that I had already made. And now I'm going to do a little sentiment on the top, which came in the kit. And I should have also done this first so that I could have lined it up better, but I forgot that I wanted to put a sentiment. So I'm going to use the white, the Nuvo Fine Detail White embossing powder, and my, I think that was the Simon Says stamp embossing pad. And even though I didn't use my stamp platform, it ended up being pretty straight and it came out just fine. So once I've placed that onto the card and heat set it, that will complete my third card out of the 5 that I'll be doing for this month's Hedgehog Hollow card kit. So thanks so much for stopping by. Stay tuned for part 2. They'll be released together, so you can just hop right over to the second one, and on that one there'll be 2 cards and 3 projects. Have a wonderful week, and I will see you again soon. Bye bye.